Today is the second Monday of October, which traditionally we celebrate Columbus Day. So, Columbus Day traditionally was to celebrate Columbus discovering America. In recent years, it's been found to be somewhat inaccurate to say that he discovered America. Not to mention the fact that there have been some horrific revelations that have come up about Christopher Columbus. And so many states in the United States are opting to, rather than celebrate Columbus Day on Monday, on Sunday they're celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day, which is very near and dear to my heart. So, in preparing for this recording today, I was doing a lot of reading. First of all, Columbus never set foot in the upper 48 states. I don't know if you know that or not, but there you have it. Also, there were some wrongs that were done to the people, the indigenous people that he met in Hispaniola and some of those other places in the islands that he visited, Puerto Rico, for one. So it is a good and natural thing for us to move away from celebrating Christopher Columbus and move into celebrating the people, the indigenous peoples of all the lands of the United States. Okay? And its surrounding areas. Canada has First Nations people, and there's, of course, Native Americans go all the way down to South America because North America and South America are still America, right? I grew up with an education that gave me information that we now know is inaccurate, okay? And so as we learn, we change. In the days that when we first came to this land, the Europeans, I say we because I'm 100% European. I have no other ethnicity in me. I'm about as white as they come. So when I say we, I really mean the white people from Europe came and landed here in this country. We were the immigrants. The indigenous people that were here let us have the land with the provision that we would not grow to be too big. And we know how that went. There's a book called Mayflower, and it's written by Nathaniel Philbrick. It's probably one of the best researched books on that the early northern settlements that I've ever read. It is so thoroughly researched, and it tells the story from more in tune with the native indigenous people's perspective, which I really love. And most of those stories were never written down. Most of those histories were passed along by word of mouth. And if you've ever played telephone, you know how that goes sometimes. However, this is an exception with indigenous people. Because this is how they document their history, they are extremely accurate with their representations of how things were. So I am leading up to some religion here, believe me. But right now, on Sunday, the Methodist Church generally celebrates Indigenous Peoples Day, okay? And being that we weren't in church yesterday and that today is Columbus Day, what I wanted to do is take a little time to talk about how we as God's people can take care of each other. So one of the things that I think is so interesting is if we look back at the story that Pastor Daniel was talking about just yesterday on our worship service, he was talking about how the chosen people of Israel, all right, were slaves in Egypt. They escaped, went through the desert on their way to the promised land. Okay, and on their way, they encounter all kinds of troubles and difficulties. All right. So, as God's chosen people, all right, they also are given permission to take over the lands of people that were indigenous to those areas. Now, this is something I have fought with myself about for years. I hope that we can come out of today's little session here with an understanding of we can have questions, we can wrestle with these things, and we can still believe and have faith. It's really a great thing, right? That's what I love about being a Methodist too, because we are required to question everything. So, but also we try to gain understanding. So one of the things that we know is that as we're afraid of things we don't understand. What are you afraid of? Do you have a fear? Do you have an unreasonable fear? I'd say probably one of my weird fears is I get kind of weird vertigo when I'm going over a high bridge, especially ones that don't have sides on them. There's that Green River Gorge Bridge kills me just about every time. But I do it because I have to, right? But the more I learn about that, the more I realize that that bridge needs to be replaced. So we have to be super careful. But I learned about it. I took the time to understand it and learn about it and gain knowledge. And that is how I overcome my fear of going over that bridge. I would avoid it before. Now I'll drive over it. I understand it. I know what's going on with it. I know why it was built that way, and I know how it was built. Therefore, I'm not afraid of it anymore. You know, it makes me a little nervous. Not going to lie about that. But I still go ahead with it. Had we known back in the days that we came here to this land, that about the traditions and the histories and the religion of the indigenous people, things would have been so different. We would have understood. We wouldn't have been scared, because fear creates violence and moves things in a direction that we don't want. There's probably some things that we're really afraid of right now out there in the world, right? It's crazy town out there, people. You probably know this. I know this. It's just crazy. We've got a pandemic, an election. There's craziness is ensuing in our world. But I try to gain knowledge. You know, when healthcare people talk to me about the COVID virus, I listen. I absorb what they say, and that helps me fight the fear of the virus, because I know what to do to protect myself as best I can. If I get it, I get it. But I'm going to do everything I can not to get it. And if I do get it, I'm going to do everything I can not to give it to somebody else. So that is how we overcome fear, with knowledge. So also, I wanted to mention that there's a few things we can do as immigrants to this country to understand the indigenous people of this country. And that is to understand that there are 576 acknowledged Indian tribes in this country. Now, those are just the ones that are acknowledged by our government. Those recognized tribes in our country were the first people here. They were the people that took care of this country. Some country that looks just like what's behind me here. Beautiful, right? We all want a piece of that. We all want a part of that. And now that we're here, the Europeans came, we kind of took over, and not kind of, we did take over, and we put the native people, the Indian people, into settlements and confined them. That is just not kind or loving. So there are people in our country that we have acknowledged the hurt that we have done to them, the wrong that we've done, and the fact that we've taken their native ancestral home from them. Now, I own property. I live here. I understand that. And time has passed. My ancestors have been in this country since at least 1638. So my people have been here a long time, and we were part of that original settlement group. So here's what I want to say. As a Christian woman, I cannot go one more day without saying how sorry I am that my ancestors did what they did and how they handled it. And so I know it wasn't me, and I know that's not who I am. But what I can do is I can apologize to Indian people that my ancestors were so cruel and so mean. And as a Christian woman, It is my responsibility to do what God calls us to do, which is to love one another, be kind, and be close to God. And so, what I can do is reach out and say, I'm sorry, and let's have some conversation about what we can do to make that up to you. So, I hope that you've enjoyed. I hope this didn't seem too much like a rant and more inspirational, because I think we could all do a whole lot more in understanding and gaining knowledge of the opposing, we'll call it the opposing side, because there's a lot of opposition out there right now, right? There's people that are, I have read some scathing articles about this subject that I'm talking about today, saying these are all lies. They called the Holocaust a holohoax, all these things. This is not kind. This is not Christian. This is not how God has requested that we speak to each other. And so John Wesley was a big proponent of Christian conferencing, which is listening and gaining knowledge and being kind in our words and what we say. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day. I hope that you can get outside between rain showers and enjoy God's beautiful creation. All right. Take care, everybody. Mwah. Miss you all. Hope to see you soon. Take care.